This is the Louie Network.
Louie Live. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to lockdown coverage, week number 16 in the National Football League. As I take you all around the league quickly, I was able to sneak away and carve out about a good hour, maybe, to do this. Hopefully, I can get it done in a lot less time, but I just wanted to go through each and every single game on the slate from week 16, talk about what I saw in the games and talk about the outcomes and what they mean moving forward. And so we'll take a look at that and then we'll get out of here. So again, Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Hope yesterday was a very fun, eventful day for you. Everybody stayed safe, enjoyed their family and their friends and all the festivities. Hope you got great gifts. Hope you were able to give more than you were able to get. And so with that being said, let's jump into these games, and we start on Saturday. And the Indianapolis Colts, say what you want. Ravens able to get the win 23-16 over the Ravens, or over the Colts, excuse me. But say what you want about it. And, you know, we make a lot of fun of the Indianapolis Colts and Chuck Pagano and that group. And look, it's a bad roster. It's a bad football team. But they play hard. You know, now in losses, they may look bad and they may look like they're they don't have enough skill players to get the job done, which in most cases they don't. But they play hard. And they did it again in this game. Blocked a punt late to give them a chance. They were right in that ball game. Adam Vinatieri is just an ageless wonder as he continues to put the football through the uprights. Didn't miss a 60-yarder, but barely. And again, this guy's like 800 years old, and he's probably the best bad weather kicker we've ever seen in NFL history. As it got nasty in Baltimore and the rain and the wind started to pick up, and he drills one from like 38, 39 yards away, and it hooks in, or 40 yards, or whatever it was. Guy's incredible. And he kept them in that game. And they had a shot late. I thought it was pass interference on Maurice Kennedy. Thought they got away with one there. But in any event, Ravens hold on. I think Joe Flacco's starting to look more comfortable. You guys tried to kill Joe all season long. I told you, hey, that's still my guy. He didn't look good, I'd admit. But remember, he didn't play most of the offseason, played none of the preseason, and he was banged up. And it took him a while, and they're starting to get healthy out wide. Mike Wallace starting to play well. I told you I've wanted to see more Chris Moore. Well, we're getting more and more, and he's playing better. Adam Campanaro starting to come along. Also, you got a healthy Danny Woodhead, which helps your two backs out, who I think are starting to emerge as the centerpiece of the offense in Collins and Allen. And now all of that's starting to come together at the right time for this Ravens football team. It's not pretty, but it's gritty, and most importantly, it's Ravens football, and it's a W. And so one more win next week, which they're going to get at home versus Cincinnati, will clinch that final playoff berth for the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone fully expects that to take place. And I think not only will they get in, I think they're going to get the 5th seed, because now with the way the 6th seed has ended up with Tennessee losing again and the Buffalo losing, Baltimore essentially is in. They just got to win, but they're going to get in. So by all intents and purposes, this is a team that I think they're coming together at the right time. They're starting to do a lot of things. Flacco looks healthy. He's running around, making some good throws. This thing's coming together at the right time for the Ravens. Still don't love them as a complete team, but they're dangerous. They've been here before, and they're not afraid to go on the road. Joe Flacco, most road playoff wins of any quarterback in NFL history. You don't want to face this Ravens team because they're not afraid. They may not beat you, but they will make you work. And if you give them a chance to hang around, they can get it done. And gotta love a team that also plays and brings special teams to the table. Anytime you got a John Harbaugh coached football team, you know special teams are going to be a huge part of what they do. That's why I love the Rams with John Fossil. Love this team with John Harbaugh. You get a team that gives 110% on special teams, actually puts effort into special teams, and will fake a punt, will fake a field goal. You just never know what you're going to get. They're going to sell out on field goal blocks, and they're going to give you maximum effort, sort of like Beamer ball in the heyday of Virginia Tech, where you knew special teams was just as important as offense and defense. You feel that way with the Rams. You feel that way with the Ravens. Those teams give themselves that much more of a chance when you make plays on special teams. They've already had a 100-yard kickoff return this season from Chris Rainey. They make plays on special teams. They did get a punt blocked in this game, but they also blocked a punt themselves. Look out for this Ravens football team. They get it done 23-16 over the Indianapolis Colts and get to 9-6. And for all intents and purposes, have clinched a playoff berth. But they want to go in on a high note, winning, 3 straight? And they got a chance to do that next week with a win over Cincinnati at home. Minnesota, Green Bay capped off your Saturday action, and we knew this game was going to be a snoozer once Aaron Rodgers was out. And I told you last week, right after the Panthers defeated the Green Bay Packers, that Aaron Rodgers was going to be done for the rest of the season. Then a controversy ensued because the rest of the league was like, hey, wait a minute. He didn't sustain a new injury. He didn't re-aggravate anything new. He doesn't have an injury that's supposed to keep him out 6 weeks. You can't just put him on IR because you're out of the playoffs. And technically speaking, the rules state that you're supposed to have to release that player if you violate the IR rules. Well, the league's not going to enforce that. They're not going to make the Green Bay Packers release Aaron Rodgers. There's no way. So, long story short, Aaron Rodgers is on IR. He's going to stay on IR, and he's not going anywhere. He's going to remain a Green Bay Packer for the rest of his career. That being said, we knew that was going to take place. We knew that Brett Hundley was going to start, and we knew he was going to stink it up against one of the best defenses in the league. End of discussion. Vikings go out, dominate the Green Bay Packers, which we fully expected to take place. That's not a surprise to anybody. What was a little surprising was that the Packers didn't score anything, at least get a field goal, get something. They got nothing. 16-0 was the score in that game. Was a snoozer of a game, to be honest with you. But again, what did you expect with Brett Hundley at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers? Vikings lock up a first-round bye with the win. Now the question is, can they get their hands on the #1 seed? That went out the window on Monday night with the Raiders not being able to hold off the Philadelphia Eagles in a very sloppy football game. So Vikings can't advance any more than the 2 seed, which they have already clinched. So I surmise that you won't see a lot of starters next week for this Vikings football team as they wrap up their season next week versus the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens in that football game as the Vikings get to 12 wins on the season at 12-3 with the 16-0 blanking of the Green Bay Packers. It's tough how their season went down with the injury to Rodgers, but in any event, they're going to miss the postseason for only the second time in like the last 8 to 10 years. I mean, they don't miss it very often with Aaron Rodgers under center. The problem was he wasn't under center for enough games this year to get him into the dance. You go to Sunday's action, and we start with Tampa Bay at Carolina. And this was a wacky game, especially the finish of this game. The Buccaneers, they always play the Panthers tough, but they generally don't beat them with Cam Newton in the lineup, and that's exactly what happened in this game. Too many mistakes by the Buccaneers yet again. Winston with 3 fumbles, the last of which put the game away. I thought he recovered that fumble. He went nuts. We all saw him go bananas on the sidelines, almost push down the PR guy and throw him on the ground after he thought the game was about to be over so he could run out on the field and confront the referees. Luckily enough for him, cooler heads prevailed. He went out and actually apologized to the head official, the ladies' man, after the game was over. And so everything was all good. He told Julius Peppers, you know I recovered that damn fumble, right? And Pep was like, yeah, you got that fumble. But Pep had already recovered another fumble and had already sacked him like 2 or 3 times in the game, which just continues his remarkable season. If he doesn't win Comeback Player of the Year, I don't know why you have that award in place. It's for guys exactly like Julius Peppers, who had a down year, looked like he was on the verge of retirement, and now has just had this ridiculous resurgence in Carolina. But the Panthers get the win over the Buccaneers 22-19. It was not pretty. They were down 19-15 late in this ball game. Had a 4th and 5, 4th and 3. Chris Baker goes offsides, cuts it to a 4th and 1. They're able to convert on a Jonathan Stewart run. Then Cam Newton fumbles the next snap, but is able to pick it up and basically bull rush his way into the end zone, and that gave them the lead at 22-19. Graham Gano was also strong in this game. Damiere Byrd, it just seems like every time the Panthers start to get someone to emerge and make some plays, they go down. Second-round pick, Curtis Samuel, who gives you some speed on the outside, done for the season. Damiere Byrd, who has started to emerge as a big-time target, not only in the passing game, but also as a return man, had a 103-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in this game. He was starting to emerge, and also had some big catches in this game. He was starting to emerge as a guy that they could get the football to. I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. He was starting to make plays for this Panthers offense. As I joked and kid, who you going to throw the football to? Brenton Burson? Who you throw the football to? Damiere Byrd? Yeah, Damiere was starting to become premier for this Panthers offense and special teams. Now he's done for the season on IR with an injury, and so now you're going to have to look for Brenton Burson. Now you're going to have to look for Kalen Clay. Now you're going to have to look for Greg and the rest of those characters as that offense continues to have injuries deplete them. Nonetheless, they still get it done in this game. The defense was outstanding yet again. They continue. Again, it's never pretty with this Panthers defense. They give up yards. They can give up points. But they get to your quarterback. They force turnovers. That's their MO right now. And it's helping them win games. Again, this one was not pretty. Easily could have been a loss. Probably should have been a loss. Another miss late in the game by the Buccaneers in the field goal kicking department. They've struggled kicking field goals since Connor Barth, the first time around. They haven't had stability at the field goal kicking position, and Patrick Murray misses for the second straight week a big kick, 50 and longer, late in the ball game that would have given the Buccaneers not only a 7-point lead, but it would have forced the Panthers to have to go the length of the field to try and tie the game up. Instead, you miss the field goal, and you give the Panthers great field position to jumpstart that game-winning drive that they ended up going on to win this game 22-19. So Buccaneers' woes in the kicking game continue. Too many turnovers, too many mistakes in this game to win. Panthers hold on and clinch a playoff berth with the 22-19 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Panthers get to 11-4 with that victory, and also with that victory, stay alive for the NFC South crown, as the Saints were able to get past the Falcons and go to 11-4 as well. Keep in mind, if the Saints win next week at home versus or on the road, I believe they're on the road against Tampa. Either way, they're against Tampa. They're going to clinch the NFC South. If they lose and Carolina wins on the road at Atlanta, they would then win the NFC South and get that home playoff game. So a lot on the stake, a lot on the line next week in the NFC South, as every team is playing for something, Buccaneers included, as they're playing spoilers next week. Again, for the third straight week, Buccaneers looking to play spoilers. They've fallen short by a field goal or less in the last two. Or matter of fact, both games were decided by a field goal. Can they go on the road or at home? I don't know where that game is, but I know it's against New Orleans. Can they get that one against the Saints? Believe it's at home. We'll see. But they've got a chance to play spoilers, as the Panthers have a chance to play spoilers as well and win the division in one fell swoop. If they can beat Atlanta next week, they could knock the Falcons out of the playoffs, depending on what Seattle does, and also still win the division with the Saints loss. So we'll see what happens as they were able to get it done. You go to the next game, Cleveland at the Bears. The Browns are just hopeless. I thought there was a perfect play that summed up their season, a great microcosm to me of what the Browns epitomize right now. A third down play where Deshaun Kaiser scrambles out of the pocket, is able to find one of their rookie wide receivers, the one out of Colorado State. His name will come to me eventually. But he throws him the football. It's kind of low. He has to go down and get it, but he does go down and get it. He then gets up, makes a couple of guys miss, cuts back a couple of times. He's going towards the end zone, and he gets stopped by a Bears defender, and he's fighting for extra yards. And here comes another Bear defender, Danny Trevathan, from behind. And as one Bear defender is ripping at the football, Trevathan comes in with a vicious shot that knocks him down. Ball comes out into the end zone, picked up by the Bears in the end zone. Prince Amukamara able to scoop it up in the end zone for a touchback. And That's the Browns season in a nutshell right there. Even when they do good, they still do bad. And the bad heavily outweighs the good every single time with this football team. It's ridiculous. Bears able to get the win 20-3 over the Browns. And with that loss, the Browns go ahead and clinch the #1 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. So they'll get a quarterback of their liking if they so choose. Josh Rosen has already come out and said, if the Browns are thinking about taking me, I might hesitate and go back to school. He's an ass. I'm telling you right now, you don't want Josh Rosen. He's an asshole. I can tell you that right now. I've been telling anybody that will listen, the kid's an asshole. Might be a hell of a quarterback. I don't know. But the kid's an asshole. So those are the kind of guys that scare me, especially at the most important position there is in football, quarterback. You don't want your quarterback being an asshole. That being said, he might be a great teammate. But I'm just telling you, the kid's an asshole. So we'll see. But in any event, I don't blame him for not wanting to play for the Browns. That being said, you can't publicly address that and announce that to the entire world. You can't do that. But he did it. So the Browns are in that familiar position of having the #1 pick in the draft. We'll see what they do with that. But they still got one more game. And unfortunately for them, the Steelers need that win to try and get the #1 seed. I surmise the NFL will make sure that the Steelers and the Patriots are playing at the same time, probably 1 o'clock next week. So it's not like the Steelers will know what's going on in the Patriots game so that they can rest their starters. They're going to play their starters because if the Patriots slip up against the Dolphins, who have already beaten the Jets. If they slip up against the Jets, they're not going to slip up against the Jets. But if they do, you never know. The Jets almost eked out one against the Chargers. They slip up against the Jets. The Steelers could still get the #1 seed. So they're going to play their starters. That's bad news for the Browns. They're going 0-16. This was the last one that they had a chance to get. They weren't able to get it. For the Bears, nice little win there. Gets them to 5 wins on the season, which is right around what I said I thought the Bears would do this year. And they've had some heartbreaking losses. They've had some close, clutch wins. They get it done here, 20-3. And we'll see if John Fox has done enough to keep his job. I don't think so, but we'll see. With that win, they've got one more against Minnesota, who doesn't need it. They can win again, get to 6 wins. Who knows? We'll see what happens with John Fox there. Still don't think he's going to keep his job, but we'll see. Detroit Lions at Cincinnati Bengals. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't see this one coming. Bengals get the win 26-17 over the Lions. Lions have been struggling. Even in their wins, they haven't looked good. Even against Chicago last week in a ho-hum game on a Saturday, I didn't think they looked that impressive. They were able to get the win like 20-10, but it wasn't impressive. It wasn't a good win necessarily. It was just a win. And so I wasn't impressed. And I'm telling you right now, this is a team that I'm not all that wasn't all that impressed by, and I didn't think they needed to go to the playoffs. And it was good that it just ended in Cincinnati quietly on a Sunday with no one really paying attention. They went out there and basically gave the game away, made some mistakes, gave up some plays, and they weren't able to make enough plays, and so they lose the game 26-17. And Cincinnati showed a little bit of fight after really looking dead and morbid and flaccid the last few weeks. They went home and showed a little bit of pride. And this is it for Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati. And so it was good to send him out on a high note. Last home game for him. And they sent him out on a high note. They're playing some competitive football, making some plays when they had to make some plays, and getting a win. And you may have found something in Hill. Brian Hill, the back you signed off of the Falcons practice squad. I think Atlanta might have made a mistake. You don't allow a guy like that to be snatched off your practice squad. If you got to pull him up to your squad, and I know you don't want to cut anybody if you're the Falcons and you're in the midst of a playoff chase. You don't want to cut anybody to hold on to a practice squad back, but you spent a 5th-round pick on Brian Hill for a reason. I think the guy's got talent. Liked him out of Wyoming, and I think you may have found something. Now with Jeremy Hill looking to hit free agency, you might replace one Hill with another Hill. And I think you may have found something there in Brian Hill to go along with Mixon and Giovanni Bernard. So I thought Hill had a great game, and I thought you did just enough to get it done at home over the Detroit Lions, who to me deserve to be out of the playoffs. They weren't a good enough team in a tough, rough NFC this season. They didn't deserve to be one of the 6 best teams to go to the playoffs, and they proved it on Sunday with a 26-17 loss at the hands of Cincinnati. And the Lions now drop to 8-7 on the season and fall out of playoff contention with the loss, as the Cincinnati Bengals get a win and get to 5-10 on the season with that W. As we go to, I think, or 6-9, excuse me, with that win. You go to the Dolphins at the Chiefs. Here's a situation that I told you the Chiefs had found their stride again. They hit it right at the right time after that ugly 5-game losing streak dropped them to 6-6 on the season and gave everybody in the division hope. Chargers, Raiders, and Chiefs 3 weeks ago were all tied at 6-6. Since then, the Chiefs have then run off 3 straight victories, 2 against teams in the division. The 2 teams that had tied them, they then subsequently went and beat both the next 2 following weeks, Raiders first at home, and then the Chargers at home the following week afterwards. Then they go and they beat the Dolphins 29-13. And what they basically did was they got back to the basics, the things that helped them start off the season 6-1. They started running the football again with Kareem Hunt. They started getting the football to their biggest threats on the outside. Kelsey at the tight end position, who had a great touchdown grab in this game and made a plethora of other good grabs. And Tyreek Hill, who is a game changer, made a couple of big plays down the field, and that's what this guy brings to the table is his explosiveness, his dynamic ability. And they realize, what are we doing? We're getting too cute. We're trying too many trick plays. We're trying to reinvent the wheel. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's get the football to Hunt, to Hill, to Kelsey, and let's continue to play good football. And that's what they've done. They've created turnovers. That always helps. Created another turnover early in this game with a nice hit from Derrick Johnson and a fumble recovery by the Kansas City Thief, who has been taking the football away of late. 3 takeaways in the game last week versus the Chargers, another takeaway in this game. So they continue to make plays defensively. They continue to get the football to the guys that make plays, Hunt, Hill, Kelsey. That's the winning formula for the Chiefs. It's not a secret. You've got 3 dynamic playmakers on your team. The more they touch it, the more successful you are. They figured that out, and now they're back to their winning ways as they get the win and in the process clinch the AFC West division, which I thought they would do despite their struggles. To me, they were a good enough team to win that division and get in the playoffs. Although I still think the Chargers may have been the most talented team in that division, I thought the more well put together team was this Chiefs football team, and they get it done with the win, and they get to 9-6 with a chance to get to 10-6 next week, finishing out their season on the road at Denver to finish up. But they've already clinched the division. They can't elevate their status in the playoffs any more than they have already. Sitting there at the 4th seed, they can't get to Jacksonville, so they really don't have much to play for. I'd be surprised to see Hill or Kelsey or any of those guys on the field this week coming up. You may get to see your first glimpse of your starter next year, Patrick Mahomes, because if I'm Andy Reid, Alex Smith isn't playing in this game, Kareem Hunt isn't playing in this game, Travis Kelsey isn't playing this game, and especially, more so than the others, maybe not so much Alex Smith, but more so than the others, Tyreek Hill isn't seeing this field at all. He wouldn't even dress out for me if I were Andy Reid, because to me, he's the biggest component. His ability to stretch the field is going to leave 7 men in the box most weeks. And if you dare play one-on-one on the outside, you're going to get burnt. And so those guys aren't going to play, to me, in week 17, but we'll see. But they get the win. Dolphins were playing better football, even though they lost last week against Buffalo. But this is who they are. They're not good enough to go on the road against a good team and win. And so they fall in this game, do the Dolphins, to 6-9 on the season. Patriots at Bills. This was a fascinating game for a number of reasons. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And the Patriots get the win, 37-16. They clinch a first-round bye in the process. They still have not clinched number 1 seed overall and home field advantage throughout. They'll need a win next week at home versus the Jets to do so, which everyone expects them to do. But with that being said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one that, the NFL cheats for the Patriots, the Cheatriots and all. I'm not that guy, okay? But every week or every year, there's something to this Patriots team and them seemingly getting calls to go their way. Look, last week, that was a debacle. Look, it was the right call if you go by the letter of the law. If you go by the way the rule has been put in place is the right call. I hate it because that wasn't the right call. Technically speaking, it was, but to any football fan just watching the game, that was a catch by Jesse James and a touchdown, and the Patriots should have lost that football game. But in typical fashion, the Patriots get all the calls going in their favor. Right before the half in this game versus Buffalo, a great one-handed stab by Kelvin Benjamin. He gets 2 feet down. You can clearly see he gets 2 feet down. It's a touchdown. Should have given the Bills a 17-13 lead at half. It changes the entire complexity of the game if that's a touchdown. They rule it a touchdown, and there is nothing, and I mean nothing there. Even if you don't know, you're not sure, you leave it as a touchdown because it was called a touchdown on the field. How you can look at those replays from all those various different angles and determine that that second foot never came down, that there was a bobble or any craziness is a farce. It is ridiculous. And for the second week in a row, the Patriots are benefited by the officials bungling something. And remember, the Austin Seferian-Jenkins call earlier in the season where he scored a touchdown and they make up some ridiculous thing about him fumbling. What are you talking about? It's ridiculous how the Patriots benefit from all of these absurd calls. It's asinine. And they do it again. Now, I don't think they were going to lose this game regardless of the outcome of that call. I don't think they were going to win. Were the Bills. But still, look, they're not good enough to have you hurting them. Don't help the Patriots. They don't need your help. So, in any event, the Bills lost this game themselves. They made a ton of mistakes. They missed a field goal. Stephen Hauschka had hit 7 field goals straight from 50 yards or longer. He misses a 50-yarder to kill his streak, which would have set an NFL record for most field goals from 50 yards plus in a season in a row being made. So you miss that field goal. You give up great field position. You give up a 3rd and 11 screen for a touchdown when all you needed to do was get a stop and force them to kick a field goal. You kick this game away yourself. But in any event, that's sickening to see that call go the way that it did. That's sickening. But the Patriots run away with this thing 37-16. Gronk had a great one-hand grab of his own in this game, and big game from the backs of the Patriots. More specifically, Dion Lewis was outstanding. There were some injuries to a couple of the backs in the game for the Patriots, and so they really had to rely heavily on Dion Lewis, and he came up clutch, and they win the game 37-16. A much-needed win because a loss here would have been detrimental to them, not only winning the first-round bye, but it would also have been detrimental to them getting the #1 seed. But with the win, they've pretty much locked up the #1 seed because they're not losing at home to the Jets next week, led by Bryce Petty. That's not going to occur. And they get the first-round bye locked up for sure with the Jacksonville loss. And now they've got their eyes set on the #1 seed, and I think they're going to get that as well next week. But for the Bills, crushing loss, but everyone expected it. They got a gift from the Rams because with the Titans losing, the Bills still have a shot next week if the Titans can't beat Jacksonville, who Jacksonville has nothing to play for at this point. They can't get the 2 seed now. They can't get the 1 seed. They won't fall below 3 because the Chiefs can't catch them in the standings. So for all intents and purposes, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that, maybe if Kansas City gets to 10-6 and Jacksonville loses and goes to 10-6, maybe Jacksonville won't be able to get the 3 seed. Instead, will get the 4 seed. So I don't know if they have anything to play for, but they've already won the division, have the Jaguars. So I don't know if they're going to play hard against Tennessee or are they going to play their starters or for how long. I don't know how that goes. But if you're Buffalo, you can't really worry about that. You've got to go on the road to Miami and just win and just see where the chips fall. You're trying to get in the playoffs and break the longest streak in the NFL currently of seasons without a playoff appearance. And you got a shot to do it because the Titans are right now struggling. They are a mess. They've lost 3 straight. What looked like a sure shoe-in for the playoffs has turned into a team that just can't find themselves. And they competed against the Rams at home, but they still didn't win. And so you got a shot if you're Buffalo. You got a shot. Just got to go to Miami and win. That's not going to be easy. And if you make some of the mistakes you made in this game, you're going to lose. I'm just telling you. And the Dolphins have played a lot better at home than they have on the road this season. So we'll see what happens there as the Bills drop to 8-7 on the season. Falcons at Saints. This game went exactly the way that I thought it would. Saints come away with the 23-13 victory. They have clinched a playoff berth as well with the win. They're still looking to clinch the division. A win next week versus Tampa Bay will do exactly that for the Saints. Was not a pretty game at all. Mistakes by both teams kept both teams in the game. The Falcons made more of the mistakes than the Saints did, and that's why the Saints were able to come away with the victory. A huge game from Mark Ingram. I thought he was one of the huge difference makers in this game. Had a 4th-and-1 run that was just Herculean. I mean, it was just, that was a man's run, all right? You also get a touchdown run from him in the game. So I thought he was a big difference maker. Kamara did a little something, but nothing of note, really. Breeze was sharp in this game. Even the one interception, which wasn't the best of throws by Breeze behind the receiver, still should have been caught by Ted Ginn Jr. So I thought Breeze was outstanding in this game when they needed throws to be made in some critical situations like late in the game. That throw that he makes to Michael Thomas, ridiculous. You know, I mean, you can't go up and hand it to him. You can't breastfeed him any better. The Falcons, on the other hand, just the same thing that you saw when they beat the Saints. Just mistakes galore. You got a 4th-and-1 situation down by the goal line where if Devontae Freeman just jumps, literally he hesitated, made a jump cut. If he just leaps, extends football over goal line, he's in. Again, I don't know why more guys don't leap over the top and just extend, especially on the 4th down. You got nothing to lose because if you don't get it, there's not another down. It's not like it's 3rd down where you're maybe a little afraid to extend because ball could get knocked out of your hand. No, it's 4th down. Like you gotta leave it all out on the table on this particular snap, or else it's their ball anyway. Instead, he decides to jump cut, hesitate. Saints engulf him at around the 1.5-yard line, stop him. He can't get in. He's got another costly fumble down by the goal line after a great interception by Deion Jones, puts them in position to get in the end zone at the 4-yard line. They can't get in, and he fumbles the football away. Remember, he fumbled twice last week against the Bucs. He didn't lose any. Not so fortunate this week as he made some mistakes in this game, but just too many mistakes. Then you got the butt fumble interception. Marshawn Lattimore, who I thought was outstanding, got away with some PIs in this game. I mean, there was one on the 3rd down against Julio on a comeback where he's all on the ground. He's molesting Julio Jones. But one thing I can say, they let the corners play. There's a difference between letting them play, though, and letting them get away with clear pass interferences. Mohamed Sanu was face guarded on one play by Ken Crawley. Never looked for the football. Had Sanu's arm in an arm bar. They didn't throw the flag. Sanu, all he did was come back and tell Matt Ryan, you got to throw it up, man. Let me go up and get it. But then it was still pass interference. And my sister was like, damn, we got a bunch of nice guys. They don't complain. They don't go nuts when things don't go our way like they should. Julio Jones got molested in this game by Marshawn Lattimore, who I just think is a stud. The guy, he's going to be the new Richard Sherman, new Darrelle Revis in the sense that he's going to get away with a lot of molesting dudes. I mean, he's going to really be, because he's so good. He's so good. He's going to get away with that. Because he's got a physical brand of football. He'll get in your face. He'll jam you at the line of scrimmage. He's got the speed, so he can come up in your face, maybe lose at the line of scrimmage, but he's not afraid because he knows he can run. This guy's got a bright future in front of him, and I thought he was outstanding. Even though he got away with a couple of PIs, don't look for that to be called against him very often because the guy is a stud. And that pick that he had, ball lands on his butt. Marcus Williams does a good job of trying to scoop it up, but in hitting it, he keeps it up because it was going to fall off of his butt. But because Marcus Williams came by and hit it, trying to scoop it, he kept it on his butt, and then Lattimore able to turn around and corral the football. They got all the breaks in this game. They made some breaks. They got some breaks. They played outstanding football, and they were able to come away with the victory 23-13. It wasn't the cleanest game by any stretch of the imagination, but a win's a win's a win in the National Football League. And they now are 1 game away from clinching the NFC South with a win next week versus Tampa Bay. For the Falcons, it's simple. The equation doesn't change. The only thing that did change with this loss is now you can't win the division, but it remains the same. Win, and you're in next week. Had they won against the Saints in this game, they would have been in. Then they would have had a chance to win the division next week. With the loss, They still got the same scenario. Win, and you're in at home versus Carolina. I expect them to do that, and so we'll see what happens there. They lose, they still can get in with a loss by Seattle. If they lose, coupled with the Seattle Seahawks win, then they are out in the playoff chase in 2017. Chargers at Jets. Bittersweet win for the Chargers, despite getting a win in what was the ugliest game of the weekend, by far and away the hardest game to watch, 14-7, and getting to a respectable record of 8-7 with one left. They effectively have been eliminated from the playoffs with the loss, or excuse me, with the win by the Chiefs. But after starting the season off 0-4 and putting yourself in a tough position to get back to 8-7, this is a hell of a year for the Chargers. And so they get the win, 14-7. Wasn't a pretty game at all, but they get the win. The Jets, without Josh McCown, they're not going to be competitive in a lot of games. And I was surprised they were competitive in this game. But the defense kept them in the game, gave them opportunities, and so they weren't able to get it done. And they've got a chance to play spoilers next week against the Patriots. They're going to get up for that game. The defense is going to get up for that game, but they just don't have enough offensively with Bryce Petty at quarterback, and so they're going to lose again. But the Chargers get the win, 14-7, but they're going to miss the postseason because of the Chiefs winning. The Chiefs have clinched the AFC West division with the win over the Dolphins, and by virtue of that, the Chargers have been eliminated from playoff contention. Oh, wait, hold on. They haven't been eliminated from playoff contention. They were eliminated from the AFC West, but at 8-7, they still got a chance to get in. They're needing some help now, but they can get in if the Bills and the Titans both lose and drop to 8-8, and they win and get to 9-7. So take that back. I apologize. They still got a shot to get in. They got to win, okay, next week against the Raiders at home, and then they're going to need some help. They're going to need the Titans, and they're going to need the Bills to both lose, which I don't see happening. One of those two teams is going to win, if not both of those teams going to win. But you got a shot. That's all you can ask for. After starting the season 0-4, you got a shot. So we're going to see what happens with the Chargers as they get the win, keep their playoff hopes alive with the 14-7 victory. Rams-Titans was a really good football game. Again, a lot of teams play some sloppy ball, some sloppiness in this game from the Titans that allowed them to lose this football game. But nonetheless, they hung tough. The Rams are such a good football team. They're so well coached in every facet of the game. They've got a specific coach that puts them in positions to win in every facet of the game. Offensively, Sean McVay, boy wonder, just continuing to rip it up. You've got on the defensive side of the football one of the best defensive coordinators to ever do it in Wade Phillips. And then on the special teams front, you got John Fossil, who to me is the best special teams coach in the entire league. And they tried another fake punt with Johnny Hecker. And believe it or not, the receiver actually got behind the defense, and Hecker, who usually is pinpoint accurate, underthrew the receiver and gave the defenders a chance to get back in and make a play on the ball. Had he let him, he might have had a damn touchdown. But in any event, Todd Gurley, to me, is the second best back in the league right now behind Le'Veon Bell. I mean, the guy is extraordinary as a pass catcher. He's just as dominant as a runner of the football. How many times are you going to allow him to jump over you before you realize he's a hurdler and he wants to jump over you? In any event, he had a back-breaking screen on a 3rd and 11 where he catches it deep in his own territory and runs for 91 yards. Turns on the accelerator, runs by everyone. The guy is just so good. God damn it, he's so good. Jared Goff is playing at a ridiculous level. Makes a throw to Cooper Kupp under duress. Isn't able to step into the throw off his back foot to the corner of the end zone. Cooper Kupp makes a ridiculous catch, gets a knee down. So Rams team is just playing with just so much confidence right now. They're a scary team. I'm just telling you right now. Whoever gets the 6th seed could be one and done. This Rams team not playing around right now. And the defense, they got after Marcus Mariota. They gave up some stuff, but Jared Goff was hit as he was trying to hand the football off by Jarrell Casey. He got in immediately, and what it was Jamon Brown, the guard. He essentially went the wrong way on the play. Everybody's going to the left or to the right. He goes to the left, and allows Jarrell Casey to come scot-free up the middle. And before Jared Goff could get the handoff off, ball is on the turf, and it's scooped up and scored by Wesley Woodyard. And so that accounted for 7 of the Titans' 23 points. But the Titans had opportunities in this game, and they missed some opportunities. I think they missed a field goal in this game as well. In any event, they had all the chances in the world, and they didn't get it done. The Rams did. And so they clinched the NFC West with the win. Good for Sean McVay. You know, that's my boy with the win. And they can't get any higher than the 3 seed, so don't expect them to play a lot of their guys next week. And so the 49ers, who I thought had, and that's next, boy, were they impressive. They got a chance to win their 5th in a row next week against the Rams, who don't have anything to play for. So congratulations to the Rams for having a tremendous turnaround this year under first-year head coach Sean McVay with the win. And for the Titans, man, oh, man, boy, you lose DeMarco Murray for the rest of the year with a nasty knee injury. And at the wrong time, you can ill afford that at this time where you're struggling and you need a pick-me-up. Now you got to go. You're at home for Jacksonville. Problem is, I'm not sure if they need the game or not. I'm not sure if the Chiefs can get the third seed or not. But regardless of what, that's a young team with a coach that probably isn't going to take his foot off the gas pedal. Can you get a win and salvage what was a great season and at least turn it into a playoff season? Can you do that, or will you continue to slide? And if you miss the playoffs, heads might roll, because you were 8-4 at one point, destined for the playoffs. The question wasn't where you getting in, is where you going to win a division. Where you going to win a division? Could you potentially get a bye? That was the question. Not, are you making the playoffs? But one more loss will put you at 8-8. One of the most epic collapses we've seen in the recent 5 years or so. And that might be a problem in Tennessee. And I'll take it a step further. Marcus Mariota. I'm gonna tell you this right now. He's on the verge of being suspect. I'm gonna just say that. I like him. I think he can be effective, but he's on the verge of being suspect. I'm looking at him out the corner of my eye like, hey, man, you be doing some pretty suspect shit. Straight up. When he's got time, pockets clean, he's dangerous. But when shit goes down. Like that 4th down at the end of the game. Bruh, Delaney Walker's open. On the out. Throw. He was your number 1 read. You were staring at him the whole time. Throw the goddamn football. What are you doing? Throw the football. What are you waiting on? Christmas? Throw the damn ball. Anyway, Eric Decker's been a hell of a find for you guys. Probably your best offseason acquisition has been Eric Decker. He's been strong. And nice to see Corey Davis making some plays. Had a nice over-the-middle catch. Things coming along at the receiver position. I thought Rashard Matthews, who's been great for you all season long, made some good catches and run. I would have liked to have seen him cut outside on that catch over the middle where he's able to break away from the defender and the safety's waiting on him. Cut outside. You probably score. Don't cut back inside. But anyway, you lost the game 27-23. And unless you win next week, you're out of the playoffs. I'm really upset with the Titans because I have big plans for them. But in any event, congratulations to the Rams again. As we get to the next game, Jaguars at 49ers. Let me say, I want to start this off by saying 49ers get the win 44-33 over the vaunted Jaguars defense. I want to say this. Hey, I don't think I'm going out on a limb or this isn't a hot take. Because I think some of you might agree with me. Had the 49ers had Jimmy Garoppolo since the start of the season, they're a playoff team. Agree or disagree? I'm going to leave that on the table for you guys to talk amongst yourselves with that one. But to me, if they had Jimmy G when this season started, I'd like to go on a limb and say that they would have been a playoff team right now. Because remember, they had a streak of 6 games in a row where they lost by a field goal or less. They were in games this year. They just couldn't win. And now here comes Jimmy G, and they've won 4 straight. And it's not like they're playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. They beat Tennessee and Jacksonville in consecutive weeks. They went on the road. No. They beat, they beat Chicago. Whoopee, right? But it doesn't matter. They've won 4 in a row. They went on the road. They beat Houston. They beat Chicago to get this streak started, right? Then they come home and they beat 2 teams in the midst of a playoff chase in Jacksonville and Tennessee. These boys are playing ball, man. And Jimmy G, they believe. They believe in San Francisco. You watch the players out there on the football field. They believe there's a new pep in their step. And now the defense is coming together. They picked Blake Bortles off 3 times in this game. A guy that I really loved, Kilo Witherspoon, great interception on a back shoulder throw. Great interception. Williams had one of the best interceptions you'll see all year. One-handed snag. They're coming together. They're believing it. And now the defense realizes, look, we don't have to go out and try to win the game by ourselves because the offense can actually score. And the offense is like, look, we good. Defense is playing ball. We playing ball. They expect to go out and win now. It's a different vibe in San Francisco right now. It's all because of Jimmy G. And so, look, there's no way they're allowing him to walk out of the building. Either they're going to reach a long-term deal with Jimmy G, who has just made him, with this 4-game winning streak, he's just made himself a ton of money. Not like he wasn't going to make money in the offseason already as it is, or as it was, but he's going to make a boatload of money. Now, with this performance, because not only do the 49ers want to keep him, there are other teams around the league looking around like, man, we'd love to get our hands on Jimmy G. So, number one, they're not allowing him out of their building. They will slap the franchise tag on his head so fast it'll make his head spin. He's not going anywhere. So, don't worry. He'll be your quarterback. You're just going to have to pay him. That being said, the defense was outstanding, except late. Special teams tried. They let Jacksonville back in this game, not recovering an onside kick. But the defense was great for much of this game, creating turnovers. The offense was extraordinary with Jimmy G as they continue to just cut through these NFL defenses like a hot knife through butter. And this is a dangerous team right now. I would have loved to have seen the Rams need that Week 17 game. I wish that the Rams, and not because, I want the Rams to win. I wanted them to win the division. But not because of any ill will towards the Rams. I just wanted to see the Rams need Week 17 because I wanted to see them compete at their highest level, knowing that they needed it against this 49ers team, just to see what the 49ers could do against that Rams team needing that game. Because the Rams don't need it now. I expect 49ers to beat them next week and finish up the season on a 5-game winning streak and finish at 6-10, which is crazy to think. Hell, 5 weeks ago, we thought the 49ers were going to be one of the worst teams in the league and win maybe 2 games max. They've got a chance to finish up 6-10. And think about it. All those games that they lost in the middle of their schedule to teams that they were capable of beating by 2 and 3 and 1 point. Just think about how many of those games they could have gotten if Jimmy G would have been in the lineup. Just think about that for a second. It's crazy. In any event, the Jags, not their best performance of the year. Too many mistakes by Blake Bortles and company in this game. They didn't run it as effectively as they would have liked to. They're starting to see a number of injuries at the receiver position, which scares you a little bit going into the postseason. But they gave it a run at the end, and their field goal kicker misses the damn extra point, which pretty much put this game on ice. That they couldn't stop San Francisco offensively any damn way. That was the problem, really. But at least if they would have made the extra point, you could have kicked the football off and not have to try another onside kick. And maybe you would have been able to get a stop and force them to punt the football, because then the 49ers would have probably felt a little bit more compelled to be conservative. And I thought this game was going to overtime. I thought Jacksonville was going to come back and win. I really did, until your kicker, Josh Lambo, decided to do the limbo with the extra point, and all of a sudden you're down 4 instead of 3, and I thought it cost you the game. But in any event, Jacksonville, with the loss by the Titans, they clinched the AFC South Division. And so they're going to be probably your 3 seed in the AFC playoffs. I don't know if they'll need the Week 17 game or not versus the Titans. but I don't expect them to take their foot, especially after a performance like this. I don't expect Doug Marrone to take his foot off the gas pedal against a Titans team that's struggling. You got a chance to put one of your division foes out of the playoffs with a win and potentially cement your number 3 seed. I don't see the Jaguars taking the foot. They're a young team. I don't think Marrone is taking his foot off the gas pedal. Not after this performance. So Tennessee could be in trouble next week. As far as the 49ers are concerned, wow, what a finish to the year. People say that you can't carry over momentum from the previous season to the next. I beg to differ, and I think this is going to be a nice case in point as the 49ers have a chance to win 5 straight to finish up the season, find their quarterback of the future, and potentially take this momentum gained at the end of 2017 and have that go into the 2018 season. Next year, we'll see. Giants at Cardinals. This was an ass whooping. 23-0. Cardinals get the win. They get to 7-8 on the season. Giants continue to be the worst versions of themselves. Giants have never been this bad in their franchise's history. They're going to win 2 games this season. They're going to finish the season up at 2-14. They stink. Eli Manning picked off a couple of times in this game. They just could do nothing right. And now their best weapon, Evan Ingram, left this game with a hip injury. I think he's done for the rest of the season. They're just a bad football team. It is. And Larry Fitzgerald destroyed them in this game. What can't Larry do? Larry threw a pass in this game. Larry caught a touchdown, caught a number of other tough catches. John Brown, good to see him back in the lineup. He caught a touchdown. Drew Stanton makes them a more competitive team offensively. They look the part in this game, and they get the win 23-0. Again, for like the second or third time this season, the Giants are shut out. Boy, they're a bad football team. As they're looking to solidify their, second pick in the draft. I think they're the second pick right now with 2 wins behind the Browns. So they're going to get it. They're going to get it, the second pick in the draft. And if they think they need a new quarterback, they'll have a chance to draft one, which obviously they feel like they do. And, Eli may be back next year. He may not be back. We'll see what happens. They've got some decisions to make. Is Steve Spagnuolo the guy for the job? Well, after you just got your ass whooped again, I don't know if he's the man for the job. I don't know if they think he's the guy. I think the players would like him to get the job, but they haven't shown what I thought they would show down the stretch for Steve Spagnuolo, so he may not get the job. They may have to find not only a new head coach, but a new general manager, and then they'll go from there. And maybe that new general manager, new head coach doesn't want Eli Manning, and then you need to draft the quarterback. There's a lot to discuss, a lot to figure out in New York as they get blanked 23-0 on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. Seahawks and Cowboys to wrap up the action on Sunday. Seahawks get the win 21-12 over the Cowboys, who just simply struggled against the Seahawks defense. And it was funny because Bobby Wagner, after the embarrassing performance by the defense a week previous to the Rams, said this might be our best defensive performance of the year. I'm healthy. I feel good. After a week before of barely being able to walk, he says, I feel the best I've felt since the beginning of the season. How's that possible? But okay, I guess. Anyway, they were flying around defensively. Dak Prescott, I think he might have taken the most shots he's taken all season. He got his ass whooped in this game, did Dak Prescott. I mean, he was taking some hellacious shots. They were blitzing. They were aggressive. Zeke Elliott, first game back off suspension, didn't eclipse 100 yards. I thought he was solid. He wasn't great, though. Just missed 100 by 6 yards, 21 carries, 94 yards rushing. But the story of this game, mistakes by the Cowboys. 2 Cowboy turnovers leading to 14 Seahawk points. And the Seahawks needed every one of those turnovers because they won this game with the fewest offensive yards they've ever won a game with. And they were challenging the NFL record for the fewest total yards in an NFL victory. They were putrid on offense at times in this game. But Paul Richardson made a big catch. Jimmy Graham does what he does best, makes a tough contested catch in the end zone. And they were able to get the win. A pick 6 by Coleman was really the deciding factor because they were down at the time of that pick 6, and that pick 6 gave them the lead, one that they would not relinquish in this game as the Cowboys simply couldn't get in the end zone. 4 Dan Bailey field goals, but he missed another 2 field goals, which is uncharacteristic of Dan Bailey, who, to me, hasn't looked right since coming back from the injury. The groin injury just still isn't right in my mind, but the Cowboys struggled offensively. Des Bryant had a fumble in this game. They just struggled offensively, did the Cowboys. Weren't able to do enough And they could have used some turnovers defensively, even though the defense was smothering at times. They didn't get it done. They needed to create turnovers like Seattle was in this game. And so by virtue of this loss, Cowboys are eliminated from playoff contention as they drop to 8-7 with this loss on the season. Seahawks, conversely, stay alive for the 6th and final playoff berth in the NFC with the win. They get to 9-6. And a win next week coupled with a Falcons loss will get the Seahawks in the playoffs again for the 5th straight year. A loss by the Seahawks will eliminate them as they try to go home and beat the Arizona Cardinals next week and give themselves a shot at making the postseason. The Falcons beat the Seahawks earlier in the season, if you remember, on a Monday night in Seattle, which gives the Falcons the tiebreaker in that scenario if both teams were to win. So the Seahawks need not only a win, but they also need a Falcons loss to get into the postseason. We'll see if they're able to do that, but they keep their season alive by going on the road and defeating the Dallas Cowboys 21-12. You go to the Monday games on Christmas Day. The Steelers-Texans game went exactly as we thought it would. 34-6, Steelers destroy the Texans. With the win coupled with the Jaguars' loss, they've now secured a first-round bye, which was huge because Antonio Brown, if the Steelers were having to play on Wild Card Weekend, I don't think he would have been able to play. So that extra week plus the extra week that you get between the game and practice time and then the game itself, I think Antonio Brown, that'll be a month worth of time. I think that will be the necessary time to potentially get him back. And even if he's not able to go, at least the first time you play, if he misses that first game, he'll probably be able to play that second game. So in any event, a big win for them. They did what they were supposed to do against a Texans team with Tyler Jonathan Yates at quarterback. They did, and the Texans just made too many mistakes. They go for it on the 4th down. I would have liked to have seen them run it. Instead, Yates throws an interception in the end zone. Yikes. Nuke did do what he does. He made a magnificent one-handed stab, which if I'm going down on a 4th down play down by the end zone, I'm either running it or I'm throwing it to Nuke. But I'm not forcing it in the back of the end zone and getting picked off. That's what I'm not going to do. But in any event, they did what they were supposed to do. They clinched a first-round bye with the win. They're still tied with the Patriots at 12-3 for the best record in the AFC. A win next week coupled with the Patriots loss, and they get the #1 seed through the Steelers. A win by the Steelers and Patriots, and the Patriots will get the #1 seed. So we'll see what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the Browns next week at home. And they're probably going to play their starters just because they don't know what's going on with the Patriots. So it looks like the Browns are going to go 0-16 this year as the Steelers get it done and clinch the first-round bye with a 34-6 win over the Houston Texans. And it looks like Bill O'Brien's probably coached his last home game with this Texans football team with that loss, I think. We'll see. And then the nightcap on Monday Night Football, which was just an ugly game. My goodness. Missed field goals left and right, turnovers. There was a span in this game of 4 plays and 3 turnovers. This was a slop fest. And again, if this is the best the Eagles have to offer without Wentz, they're in trouble. I could easily see them losing the first game that they play in the playoffs because this was not impressive. As a matter of fact, the Raiders are not a good football team at all, and they had you on the ropes and should have won this game. Should have won this game. Okay, the score is misleading, 19-10. The Raiders were down 13-10 late, and just like the Eagles did to the Rams late in the game, where the Rams start throwing the football around and the Eagles scoop it up and go for a touchdown, it is the same thing here. So, needless to say, this was a nip and tuck, close game. The Raiders had every opportunity. Giorgio Tavecchio missed 2 field goals in this game. Derek Carr stinks right now. I'm telling you, right, he's regressed in ways you can't even imagine. He's throwing the football up for grabs. That interception he threw, it was a blind slant that he just threw. Yeah, you'd like to see your receiver win, at least cross the face of the defender, but still, it's just a horrible throw. You put pressure on Derek Carr, and I've said this, and I've maintained this. Even in his MVP bid last season, I said, and Raiders fans came down on me hard, I said, look, I don't care what you're talking about. He's still the same guy from Fresno that doesn't want to be hit. All right? You put pressure on Derek Carr's ass and he will do something stupid. We've seen it this year. And now that he's gotten injured 2 years in a row, the injury last year versus the Colts to his knee that ended the season, and the injury to his back versus Denver, he's even more gun-shy. He's even more likely to do something stupid with pressure on him. And he was throwing the football up for grabs all night long. Just throwing. Help me with this. I'll never understand. And Derek Carr is good for this. On a 4th down, you're rolling out. There's nothing, right? Okay, there's nothing. It's 4th down. What are you doing throwing the football out of bounds, brother? What are you doing, bro? Throwing it out of bounds definitely not going to get you a 1st down. I don't care if your guy's double covered. Even if you throw a pick, guess what? It's 4th down. You're not getting the football back. What are you doing? In any event, ugly win for the Eagles. Their kicker, Jake Elliott, missed a chippy right before the half, but he was able to redeem himself, drilling a kick from right around 50 late in the ball game to give them the 13-10 lead, which ultimately was the difference in this game before the touchdown on the laterals at the end of the game. Nonetheless, Eagles get the win, and with that win, they clinched the #1 seed in the NFC playoffs at, let's see, 13-2. So they don't need that game against the Cowboys next week. But the Cowboys don't need the game next week against the Eagles. So that will be a lot of fun to watch. But nonetheless, Jack Del Rio's in trouble in Oakland. I didn't think that was the case before. But his team just, right now, Marshawn Lynch was with his first fumble of the season, of any kind. And they're just struggling right now. They don't look like a confident football team. I don't think Del Rio needs to be fired. I think his coaching staff is the problem around him. They already got rid of Ken Norton Jr. They brought in John Pagano. I don't know if that's much better. I just think he needs to revamp and revise his coaching staff. I'm not saying and advocating that you get rid of Todd Downing as an offensive coordinator, because it's so hard in this league to bring a guy in 1 year and have him, pick up where your last OC left off. But as you saw as you've seen in Atlanta with Steve Sarkisian, and I think they need to give him another year to get everybody assimilated to his offense and comfortable, and he needs to be comfortable with the guys that he's calling plays for. Same thing with Todd Downing, but I think his coaches have let him down more so than he's let down this organization. And so I'd hate to see Jack Del Rio get fired, but it may happen in Oakland this year, as they have been one of the most disappointing teams this season, as they lose again, and they have now fallen to 6-9 on the season with 3 consecutive losses after getting to 6-6 and giving themselves a chance in the division. They've lost 3 straight weeks at Kansas City, home to Dallas, and now at Philadelphia. And so the Eagles, with the win, clinched the #1 seed in the NFC playoffs. Was not pretty, and I'm telling you, if you're an Eagles fan, you're nervous. You are nervous because this team, they don't look right now. But they get the win 19-10. That's the second week in a row that you've played down to the level of your competition. Probably could have lost, and maybe even should have lost to the Giants last week. Definitely should have lost this game to the Raiders. So, a little suspect are the Eagles. And now with essentially 2 weeks of meaningless football for you, not going to need week 17. You're not playing in Wild Card Weekend. I'm a little skeptical of this Eagles football team. Not gonna lie to you. We'll see what happens. But in any event, that's your man Louie T taking a trip around the league. Week 16 lockdown coverage. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll reconvene at some point, probably next week. But in any event, I'm your man Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Signing off. Enjoy the rest of your week. College football, all of the above. And we should see some pretty interesting football, both college and NFL, in the coming days. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'll see you guys later on in the week. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me.